Peace to the family. This is your brother Reggie. How are you? It's Tuesday, 10 o'clock. I know that you're out here. If you're in the uh, space, let me know that you're here so I can say hello. Thanks, Solomon TV. And thank you, Shesmu Patah, for joining. Who else is out here? Okay. I heard there's a debate happening really soon on evolution, theory of evolution. And I do things a little bit differently around here. Um, I'm not going to, how can I say, I'm going to let Unc West and Brother Dr. Inky, I'm going to let them do the heavy lifting on to whether or not the theory of evolution is viable. Um, but, when I have time, many of you know I go to museums and um, besides reading books and uh, I travel when I can. I go to conferences and I pretty much stay kind of mentally active. Um, I know on YouTube, YouTube is wow. YouTube is really, really wow. I mean, hear a lot of things on YouTube. I know that we have different education levels, different experiences. I find that I find that a lot of people without the education is much more vocal than the people with education. I think the people who are without education, who are charismatic, I see that they get a lot of views. Uh, um, everybody seems to like fantasy instead of the truth. So, human evolution is something that is in academia, is in science. Pseudo stuff is on YouTube. You can believe what you want to believe, but that's the problem. You believe what you want to believe, and it's usually your own, uh, how can I say, beliefs and thoughts, rather than anything that you would survive a classroom, uh, a course on. So, what I try to do is I try to help you with that. And so today, I'm not going to weigh into, I'm not going to weigh into who's right or who's wrong. And I'm probably going to do another show. Um, I'm going to go back to the museum in another section. So, what I wanted to do tonight is I just want to walk through the biodiversity, human evolution area of the American Museum of Natural History in New York. Let you know that it's there and uh, let you know some of the things that it has. Some of the things. I mean, I could spend uh, uh, 3 hours on a video for that. Um, Pan African James, thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Um, I'm going to do a walk through the American Museum of Natural History. It's in New York. It's one of the museums that I take people to. In the past, I've been there with Sonetta and Shaka Amos. Been there with the Amin Ra Squad. Um, and I've been there with some class trips that I've taken for kids. And wow, I could spend days in that museum. Um, I mean, days in that museum. I mean, if you've been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art with me, um, wow, the amount of educational material in the American Museum of Natural History just dwarfs the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Um, Metropolitan Museum of Art has them pieces, right? They have important primary pieces. The American Museum of Natural History, what it has is, in fact, educational resources. So I don't know how many people's on. Um, I mean, a lot of people like wow stuff on the YouTube and really entertainment. So I'm gonna just give you some education. and I hope you like it. So let me just try to get set up. Let's stop sharing this screen, bring up another screen, and we're just going to walk through. So people take different, yeah, how can I say, lenses on human evolution. Some do DNA, like Pan African Designs and Apparel, and others do uh, artifacts or archaeology. Some people take that lens, and some people just BS their way through the world. They just make stuff up, right? Um, and that is the problem with our community. We're willing to believe anything and everything. So let's bring this up. So share the screen. So share the screen. So if you haven't been to the American Museum of Natural History, you're gonna journey with me today, and we're gonna see how this. We're gonna see how it goes. So let's move this over here. See if I can move this over here, and I'll just do a kind of a reaction video to it. So give me a second while I kind of move this over. There it goes. I like that better. And if I could expand this, I don't know if I can expand this over here. It's full screen. Okay, great. I think this works. Okay, so uh, well, where are we? We're in New York City, Central Park West, and we're around about 80. I don't know, about 84th Street or something like that, 85th Street. And this huge structure right here is the American Museum of Natural History, right here. And so let's get on our way. Let's pity pat, get on our way. And let's talk about evolution a little bit. So here we are. Now, the facade changed a little bit. Here, there used to be this big statue of Roosevelt on a horse with Native American and an African underneath as if he's superior, but they have changed that. So this is the great opening. This is the big opening here. But I never go through the opening because so many people are there. So what I usually do is find another entrance. So I am going to find another entrance. So there I go. Um, so here on this entrance here, you have the Hayden Planetarium. In this area right here is where Neil deGrasse Tyson works, in this particular area right here. And maybe we'll do a show on the planetarium, maybe. So where I'm entering right now in the museum after walking for about 15, 20 minutes is the Hall of Diversity. So the Hall of Diversity starts our evolutionary journey, right? So the first thing that you see here is you see the jungle. Not all of Africa is the jungle, of course, but the jungle is a very important ecology for our topic. And then you get into this wing, and then you deal with diversity. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the titles of diversity here. Um, and so you're not going to see our people because our people don't really go to museums, right? We sit on park benches and hold up halls and buildings. Um, but this is where people who invest in their children are. This is where they come. So the section over here is mollusks, and so we see diversity in the mollusks family. Uh, Next to it is the worms, and like I said, you can spend hours and hours and hours just on one exhibit, right? variations of insects and mariopods, right? And so some of these are taxidermied, and some of them are actual models. Um, Cheliceratus, that group, mammals. That's something that we pretty much know pretty well, mammals, right? We're more familiar with them. If you go to the insects and stuff like that, we're not so familiar with the insects. Crocodiles and birds, we're pretty much familiar with the concept of crocodiles and birds, but all of the bird species all over the world, we are not. Snakes and lizards, how about that? There are many, many groups, species, types, and just like it is with early men, early men and women, early humans, bony fish, right? Um, you've seen part of that. This section over here with bony fish, and they have enough models on top. What else do we have? Okay, some of these we are familiar looking at them, but these are called echinoderms. And then there's another group, right? So uh, there are specialists, uh, students, specialists, and their job is to categorize all of this. And you see up on top, school of fish, that's flatworms. So what I'm trying to get across is the diversity of animals and insects and other types, to show you the biodiversity of this incredible planet that we live in, right? And that there's so much to know, so much to see, so much to find. Um, but a lot of our people, unfortunately, not focus on education, right? Focusing on, uh, putting a roof over your head is something that we must focus on. But as far as your children is concerned, education is important, and education starts in the house, right? Fungi and lichens, right? So again, the important thing is that when we're talking about this debate, um, Charles Darwin, uh, for his work on studying evolution, observed and encountered and categorized uh, the many of the species and made an incredible observation that hey Morpheus, how you doing? My brother Morpheus, boy, man, if y'all got to know brother Morpheus, man, incredible, incredible mind right there. Green algae. So there's green algae there, right? So now we're looking at the beginnings, part of the beginnings of life on this planet, before it branched out to insects and it branched out to uh, mammals and shellfish. We have the very start, and we have protocytes, and then we have archaeobacteria, right? Okay, bacteria, right? What I didn't see that I didn't see in this particular section. I didn't see viruses, right? And they have some true bacteria, but they have enough to get you to the point, right? If you can get through all of the exhibitions, placards that we just saw, and then we go to let's see, um, back to the forest real quick, and we look at real close. When I'm stopping is not clear, but they have the Cameroon, they have Africa, and then they have the some of the plant life in Africa and the forests and stuff like that. So you can be in an urban place of humans, but 10 minutes drive, you could be in this thing right here, right? And for early human beings and early Africans, uh, it's incredible. Let's see if I can stop it right here and bring it back. Um, where you can see the connection between um, plant life, uh, mammal life, insect life, right? um, ocean life, and the emergence of uh, early hominids, right? Um, and to live and for the early hominids to traverse the jungles was a very dangerous thing. You could get killed by a snake. You can get killed by a frog. Believe it or not, a frog. You can get killed by a frog. An insect. You can get bit by an insect. There's 1,000 ways to die. Leopards, jaguars. Uh, um, how can I say? Um, uh, Baboons. There's 1,000 ways to die in the jungle. Jungle is not a place that you really want to play around in. Okay, so I skipped a section of ocean life, but inside the museum, just to tell you how large the museum is, they have a full-size blue whale floating in the museum. They have dinosaurs. I'll get to that in another episode, but just to show you how it is when they're dealing with ocean life. And so these halls associated with it is ocean life. Smash Rockwell, my brother, how you doing, Smash Rockwell? Man, I seen you at work today. You did a show, then you went to work. Uh, start talking about real estate. You do it all. Uh, um, if you've never been to Smash Rockwell show, go to Smash Rockwell show. Right, you learn a lot about Now Valley, about Nubia. You also learn about a lot about AI business. That's one thing Smash excels on, business. Right. So just going back, what we have is uh, plant life in the Congo. 1,000 ways to die in the Congo, right? It's a diversity of and we as humans, thinking humans, we are going to have to, our early ancestors learned how to traverse this world with no clothing, right? No shoes, until they figured out that they needed to protect themselves from the environment in which they lived in, right? Um, okay, so now we go into the Hall of Hominids. So Smash Rockwell has been here. The Amara Squad has been here, and so uh, maybe the next time I make some of these clearer. But the first thing they start with is, how do we know what we know, right? We know it because of fossils, right? That's how we know what we know, because of fossils, right? What's left behind, right? What has been preserved? What has become almost stone-like, right? Stone-like, to be forever almost preserved. Uh, because we're kind of in a hall of humans, we're gonna there's primates there. Uh, these are the early primates, things that are our human ancestors, right? Um, I need to next time I need to do it with pictures so that I can stop and start reading. And believe it or not, they talk about Egyptian primates, right? Egyptian primates, believe it or not, right? And so we have early primates. These are not humans, right? These are primate species, monkeys and things like that. Hominid heyday, whatever that says. Wish I could read it. Next time I'll be smarter. Take more photos instead of video, but I wanted to get through. I do photos, I do video and photos. And they talk about dwindling diversity. So they think about all of the topics that we have just went through, right? As we begin to think about biodiversity. Look at all these topics. And they have examples of what they're talking about of um, primate evolution. So you all see that. So that we know that the museum now talks about primate evolution. And there are people in our community that don't believe in evolution, believe that God in one magic wand created all of these, uh, all life on the planet. Just one wand, waved this wand and created all these species, and that these species never really changed. They were always here, right? And so the type of mind that believes in that is not a mind that is going to take you into the future, right? You need science and DNA. What it says about human origins, although it may not look impressive, the DNA in each of these um, tubes contains billions of bits of encoded information that can shape our entire organism. By studying the DNA from humans and from closely related species such as chimpanzees and Neanderthals, we are piecing together the complex history of human evolution. You know, this is the American Museum of Natural History. You know, they got to throw in it the Neanderthals, right? They got to fast track it to Neanderthals, but um, yeah, that's just them. But we have to get past that and get into it. So we have different primates. These are not humans. Uh, these are our evolutionary cousins, right? That we split off. DNA comparing humans and chimps. So they get right to it, right? So much alike. That's what they say. So much alike. And then they will say, and so yet so different. So no scientist is saying that that humans and chimpanzees are the same. They're so much alike, and there's so much difference. And the difference of these groups when we split it apart is very, very small, but very, very important in DNA. So now, when you have this debate that you're going to have with Ankh and Inky, right? What we expect is to not have people make up what they want to say, but bring in actual science. One of the things that people do not do is people do not travel to museums and they don't go into libraries. The YouTube is their how can I say their playground. YouTube, what they can Google, what they can bring up, selected material, right? In a museum, the problem with the museum is going to put in everything all at the same time, right? Everything, what's right, what's wrong, right? They're gonna have a chart, right? Um, okay, so what is DNA? I can't read that. Should have made that a slide, but uh, you will. But this is an educational program. They will tell you what DNA is. So then they have this chart over here, and I guess I'll get to the beginning of it, right? But because I think this is the end. But what they're going to do is they're going to talk about how complex DNA is and how DNA adds to itself, right? As it gets more information, and that's what Charles Darwin talks about. Uh, Peace, Babylon, done, right? Okay, so what's that? He says evolutionary science and creationary science is trash. Babylon Don. Okay. Um, Babylon Don, can you let me know what museums and libraries have you been to? I just want to check, right? I mean, I know there are books out there. I just want to know, have you been to a museum or um, that you were able just to absorb all the information that's available before you say it's trash? And I certainly am not doing a show on trash. What I'm doing is going out and showing you what is in the museum. OG videos, Brother Reggie, I was sorry to see you come back on Sonetta. Um, well, the the people are there, right? And I'm an educator, and we always give each people a space to work things out. But the fact of the matter is, OG video, and shout out to my good brother OG, right? Uh, the issue is that the people don't come to my channel. What can I do? What can I do? Right? I have to be strategic. I have to. It'd be wise to be strategic, right? Um, I can sit in my little side of the section, but the fact of the matter is, I'm not supported, even though I do good work. If there's a reason that I want to go over there, I will go over there. Otherwise, I'm going to build out my own channel, right? So let's look at this with respect to you, good brother. Um, so they talk about mutations. A mutation is a mistake in the process of DNA copying, right? That's just how they put it. Okay. Mutations can be passed on to future generations. Mm. Um, um, I would say a better word than a mistake. It has something to do with the environment. Um, it's some of the things that you start talking about. Charles Darwin is how in fact DNA deals with different environmental situations, and it could be seen as a mistake, but it could be um, survival of this organism. Some lineages fail to produce daughters and go extinct. So that's the important part. Some lineages fail to produce enough daughters, and they go extinct, right? That's one of the things. And we have diseases, we have bottlenecks, we have warfare, we have lots of things uh, that influence climate, right? We have lots of things that influence survival. So they started at six. So so something is happening. They jump. They jump this period. Where am I? And they jump this period, and they jump to 6 million years, and then they. Um, let me see. Yeah, they jump to 6 million. Where am I? Is it moving? Yeah, I guess it's moving. Yeah. Um, so um, 5 million, 4 million, 3 million, right? As you can see, there's changes in the DNA. Now, let me stop here if I can. Chimpanzee and bonobo lineages branch apart at 2.5 million years. So now they're focusing on humanity. So chimpanzee and bonobo lineages branch apart. Okay. Then they go 1 million years, 900,000 years, 800,000 years. And basically, they're just creating a chart of how, okay. And then humans and Neanderthal lineages branch apart. Um, I think that they need to update the slide and they need to talk about um, okay, so here's what James, Pan African James is jumping up and down and says, "You see, brother Reggie, I told you Neanderthals they're not human. I can see them right now, right? Um, uh, they should have said Homo sapiens sapien. Let's see, OG, what he got to say. I do think you can get an audience. You have popular invited guests and open forums and keep it interesting and flowing. Um, yeah, maybe I but I do a lot of teaching, and there are some guests that I may not want to push their ideas, and a lot of people push ideas of people that are pseudo, right? Um, uh, so and I'm trying to be educational, right? But you're right about that, OG. And I don't know. I'm gonna go check your channel, uh, and yeah, uh, put your channel in the chat for people to see it. So, human and Neanderthal lineages branch apart, and they missed on this chart. They missed a lot, and then there's going to be another uh, exhibit or caption that's going to explain a little bit better than that. What's Pan African James saying? What you got to say? Let me just say they don't know much when you discovered hybridizations in humans in 2010. uh, so they need some money to update this chart. We need to complain about this, right? Okay. So now we have a presentation they did. So let's see what they got to say. Uh, OG, look, yeah, I mean, YouTube is interesting. They don't like people. They don't push good information. They push entertainment because advertisers enjoy that. And there's a lot of competition in this space. So you got to do backflips, somersaults. You got to be Bruce Lee in this. Okay. Ancient DNA is just. So the beautiful thing about this is that they start this presentation out with an African who is uh, a, um, a professor at one of the big universities, and he's an expert on DNA. So let's see what he got to say. DNA molecules that are extracted from ancient material, mainly archaeological or paleontological material. The kind of information that ancient DNA is giving us today is something that we never even dreamed about 40 years ago. We retrieve DNA from old bones, particularly of Neanderthals and Denisovans, and study their genomes, infer things about their history and how they interacted with each other. In the process of studying ancient molecules, your molecule of interest will probably be in very low quantity. And so then there's an amplification step. It gets copied many, many, many times. And once we have our DNA sequence, we are going to use computational tools to analyze it and to compare it to all the DNA sequence of facts. So he talked about tools. Um, a lot of people in our community, well, um, they don't know about scientific tools, and all they know is what they can conjure out of their big brains, right, and out of their fat lips, right. But the amount of people that talk about science that have ever actually used a tool as simple as a microscope, right, or any other of these type of tools that they use in the field to anything with DNA, any type of a scientific tool. We don't have a a lot of people who have actually ever been in a lab. They may have said that they might have dissected a frog, right? Um, and then we don't have a lot of people that actually travel and see different species of animals and things like that. But we got big fat lips. But here's a brother, right, who is a professor, PhD, and he's telling us a little bit about how DNA. How do you study ancient DNA? Organisms or living organisms. At the American Museum of Natural History, as part of our molecular laboratories, we have a dedicated space called the Ancient Biomolecules Laboratory, but we lovingly call it the Ag Lab. The Ag Lab is a wow. Uh, okay, first of all, the in my understanding, the American Museum of Natural History is not just a museum; it has actual labs, and some of these labs deep, deep under the ground, right? And that the experts that are here or sent samples. Lots of university professors come here because they have multi-million dollar I can say billion dollars worth of equipment inside. They have a cryo, a whole cryo unit, right? Um, um, so the American Museum of Natural History is just not a museum like other places. It's an application space. Space where researchers can come in and do extractions of nucleic acids or proteins from all sorts of materials from our museum collection. So do you hear what she says? She has this. They have this app lab where researchers can come and use the equipment that obviously their universities may not have, right? And to extract DNA, right? So and that DNA could actually and probably have many times have been uh, DNA from ancient Africa for archaeology purposes. They can come and they can extract DNA and do all types of work. They have all the equipment there.
And from elsewhere.
Yeah, so certainly Savante Apabo, he is he is one of the super experts on DNA. He is almost in all of the journals. He's the go-to man. Then there's other ones like David Reich and others, but at least we know that this museum is focusing on them.
So there's a lot of challenges in extracting and retrieving ancient DNA. The first will be preservation. Not every ancient material is preserved DNA.
Okay, so interesting. So he's what he's showing is where you might, if you have a fossil, human fossil, where you might find the DNA, because good DNA is not everywhere. And so, teeth and gums and things like that, these are places, and he's showing it really slickly, uh, uh, quickly, right, to you.
The second will be contamination. Contamination with present-day human DNA, which can falsify your result or overwhelm your experiments, where you can single dust particles that comes from the.
Yeah. So any type of DNA extraction, you have to be in a clean room, right? Because anything that you have can, falsify your data. And so when they was talking about things like the cocaine mummies in Egypt, right? The big issue was some of this falsified by some of the equipment that was brought in, or was it in fact another plant species, right? That has signatures of what you call cocaine, and cocaine is a product that is actually produced rather than what it is in its natural state, the coca leaves. And so the cocaine mummies is pretty much more or less a big blow up of a big marketing thing because where's the cane in in the cocaine mummies, right? Because that's manufactured. But there he's talking about the challenging of collecting ancient
Skin
DNA.
fragments that land in your experiment and may totally overwhelm the results you get. So studying ancient biomolecules gives us insight into questions such as how are extinct species related to living species? And it can also give us insights into how are populations in the past related to populations today. So for example, was there more or less genetic diversity? So when we then compare the genomes of say Neanderthals with present day people, we can estimate how far back they had a common ancestor. Your roots, the genetic roots are in Europe or Asia. You will carry on average something like 2% of Neanderthal gene. But different people carry different parts of the Neanderthal gene in the past.
Different amounts and different parts of the DNA throughout the world. If they want to focus on they're actually focused on the Eurasian people, their people, right? And so we rely on our scholars to focus on what I mean, African scholars to focus on Africa. And so a lot of data is falsified or biased, right? And so Pan African James would jump in and say, yeah, a lot of times. So we had the Nui Watts uh, report, right? And before that, we had um, the North African report, right? And so what we find is, what are they comparing this DNA to? Are they comparing it to samples within Africa, right? Or are they comparing it to samples in Europe, right? Eurasia, right? The Shinnerin report, right? Where they go into a graveyard that is populated by uh, different peoples from different time periods, and they go into the cemetery, and then they come up with this thing that sub-Saharan Africans or is more modern to Africa, and that Egyptians are largely tied to Eurasia, right? How did they do that? By sample set and digging in the wrong place, right? It was Babylon Don got to say. Babylon Don says non-life DNA cannot create new information. Transitional fossils are missing from the fossil record. Irreducible complexity blocks gradual change. Evidence for evolution is ambiguous. What evidence? You made some points, but the but but what point did you make that evolution doesn't exist? Evolution is not a one size fits all. So you saying that species don't admix? And do you expect to find all records of animals based on large periods of time? Are you really expecting that? If it's in the forest, it's going to disappear because of the moisture. If it's if it's in some of the cold climates, we might find those things when they defrost. Um, but are you saying, Babylon Don, that God did this? Are you saying that this is not nature, right? Because we can't find everything? Well, the funny thing is that a lot of us who be doing bumping our gums, we're the furthest from uh, a university, the furthest from a lab, right? The furthest from it. And so if you're the furthest from, uh, a high degree, then you can have your opinion. I respect it, right? I can respect that you have an opinion, but I'm a college graduate, my dude. I took university biology, chemistry. I took calculus all the way up to differential equations. I got a degree in computer science. I'm like, I know what it is to try and error. I know what it is not to have all the data to be in a different time. When I was programming, what I was programming, starting with assembler language, machine language, assembler language, and then Fortran and Pascal. That's how can I say in the 20 years, that's in the Stone Age, right? And now we have AI not needing to so-called program because we have machines machines programming for us. But because you don't have all the evidence at one time, does it dismantle the concept of evolution? No, I don't think so. And I don't think that you build billion-dollar institutions, right? Because they're just playing around. But I think that people who have to survive in America's how can I say pay their bills and stuff like that. I think that you're busy. I don't think that you're in people are in this field, but I do think I value your point of view to end so much as if you could put the last look, college and university is one thing, but then there are people who maybe not complete college, but they are great minds. But they do that in products and they do that in writing and publications, right? Um, I like to see that. And a lot of times they do it in other fields than human evolution. Today we're talking about human evolution. So if you're expert in human evolution, you wrote a paper. So what do you say about in the last COVID He says something about the last
So
COVID.
in Europe or Asia, you will carry on average something like 2% of Neanderthal DNA, but different people carry different parts of the Neanderthal genome. In the last
Says in the last COVID pandemic, there were variants that came from
COVID pandemic, there were variants that came from Neanderthal.
Neanderthals that increased the risk of becoming severely ill. So there was DNA material, different type of DNA material that were in Neanderthals that increased the risk of becoming severely ill.
That increase the risk of becoming severely ill if you're infected with the
So if you were infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus,
virus that doubles your risk of
that doubles your risk of in requiring intensive care or even dying.
requiring intensive care or diet.
And ancient DNA allow us to get genetic material for ancient pathogens that tell us about past epidemic events.
There are of course many things that we cannot do reconstruct. Certain limited things about the biology, but if you're interested in things such as their behavior or how they were able to speak, etc., we cannot infer that from the genealogy.
We know that animals and plants and other life forms, they move around on the earth.
We know that DNA could have been preserved in environmental samples such as archaeological sediment. By using ancient DNA from sediment, we can get genetic material from past individuals or past populations from basically any place where humans have once lived.
So we can use DNA there to say what species live there, what types of humans live there, was it Neanderthals, was it modern humans, and associate that with stone tools, for example, that we find in those layers.
Ancient DNA has a lifespan on the order of hundreds of thousands, even in the best conditions. So another
So as we get better tools, as we create better tools, since we can DNA, we can get it for hundreds of thousands of years. Now it's just based on creating the better tools. So if we don't necessarily get a missing link per se, we may be able to detect DNA variants in species that we already have and isolate them. Today we call them things like ghost genes and things like that. I know you heard that, but we can better classify that.
very exciting new approach is looking at ancient proteins or paleoproteomics. This has the potential to let us gather the same kinds of information as ancient DNA, but on the scale of
So what does Pan African James say? He said Neanderthal DNA caused severe risk of death, something Africans lacked. I don't know what the F he's talking about. Interesting. So maybe someone needs to bring that up to him and see what um, what his take is on it. It'd be an interesting conversation, maybe a different interesting debate. Um, but there, how can I say, there are things from Neanderthals, or our cousins. There are some things that we got from Neanderthals that's helpful. Some things that we got that may not be so helpful, but science helps us. And then there's CRISPR-Cas9, as you know, where you can do DNA editing, right? And so, uh, uh, but uh, I have to know more about what Ankh is saying uh, about this subject. So that was this is going to be interesting, because you have Savante Pablo, Dr. Savante Pablo, making a point. I don't I don't know how recent this comment is, and maybe it's changed because science changed, right? So
advances in technology, both in terms of laboratory work and also computational work, has really made possible this unification.
I'm not gonna. Okay, I didn't mean to highlight that, right? Because I'm not trying to call anybody anything. I'm just trying to do my show. But I see that y'all got beef, right? Uh, what's Babylon John says it's not God creation and it's not natural selection. Nature is not physical. Nature is not physical at all. So, so natural selection is nonsensical and unsensible. Any science is not sensible is nonsense. Okay, so nature is not physical. Oh, nature is not physical. So what is nature? Spiritual, right? Uh, you see, now you have to go into a museum like I went to a museum, and you're gonna have to get some sources. Like I'm showing you some sources to bring it to the people. This just can't be from your mind, Babylon Don. I mean, I know that we all think, but what I'm giving you evidence, empirical evidence. I'm giving you testimony. You making a big statement now. You say that we're not physical. We're not physical. We don't live in a physical world. Oh, you're gonna have to help me out. What? You're gonna have to help me out with this to say that the reality in which we exist in is not more physical, and you're gonna have to prove some spiritual. Spiritual, by the way, is a Christian word. It has something to do with Christ. It's a modern word, right? It's a real modern word, and we make the mistake of using a word that was created in Latin from the Greek, right? And we try to make up what we think. But I'm gonna say that spirituality bullshit that you're talking about, that shit didn't help us on a slave ship. It didn't help us when we was captured. It didn't help us in America, right? During the slave trade, it didn't help us. Ain't nobody hurt us when our ancestors were being trafficked. Ain't nobody hurt us. And if anything, the Europeans fared out better. Their slave ships was allowed to cross that ocean. I guess they use science and come back and take hundreds of thousands, millions of us. And ain't no God, no spirit, no bullshit like that helped us. Right? So I think I'm going to use the tools, some other tools, than to be relying on spirituality. The spirituality is not favored the Africans. We are suffering. Uh, oh no, Pan African James. I'm not doing anything else for you. No. You're gonna have to do it. You're not gonna. Nope. I've been through that with you, bro. I've been through that with you. Nope. I'm doing my own work.
It's really hard to say what we're living in, and also, what's the potential for AI to help us reconstruct the past?
So there is a future of science in this field, right? So science is going to get better, and there is a big future of science in this field. They did not say that there is a future in spirituality in this field, right? They didn't say that.
Pieces that have persisted since then. By studying all this material from the past, it helps us not only understand our history and the history of our planet, but it helps us understand and predict our future.
Okay, there's the producer and editor. Thank you so very much. And the American Museum of Natural History produced this. And the director is Brett Peterson. I'm going to give him a shout out. Thank you so much. Okay, so some of the other exhibits in here says the first humans. So now we have a fossil of one of the first humans, and it don't look like us per se today because of evolution, not because of spirituality, but because of evolution. What do we have? So then we have stages of humans. We actually have fossils of uh, bridges and bones. Um, Next time I got to learn from this, so next time I will take photos instead of video so it can be clearer. And we have different types of skulls that talk about different type of species. Homo erectus. Okay, so that came out clear. So that's a Homo erectus skull fragment, right? Um, these are some of the species that left Africa. Homo neanderthalis, right, that we found in Gibraltar. We have Australopithecus africanus, 7.5 million years ago, right? Um, not Homo sapiens sapien, but an earlier species of ours in southern Africa, 2.5 million years ago. So all this is physical, ain't none of this spiritual, right? So some people want to erase science, rebuilding SEMA. So SEMA seems to be a Neanderthal, and they have the skeleton. They put on the muscles, and then they put on the hair, and there we have. Now this is our family tree, and I should have done. Well, Babylon, you're right. This is not personal. It's only science, but spirituality is not science. So they talk about different species. There's a species that we found and a species that we haven't found, and then there is lineages that end, right? And so this gives you an idea of pathways of different species, right? And like, for example, and where they end. And right where we stop finding them, they don't contribute anymore. And then where they actually connect up to other species, right? And so this map, I'm sorry, and then it's 2 million years ago, and there's these crossroads of uh, human DNA, um, and that create similarities and differences between species uh, that that we come from. So science does this with errors, right? With errors, but spirituality doesn't do this. Spirituality, you can't make a chart with spirituality. That's the point. So the point is, in this debate between Ankh and uh, Enki, um, what we're looking for is evidence, right? So in some of these debates, we don't have enough time for the detailed information, and so that's why I am supplementing it. Okay, what's gonna? It's just a couple of peer-reviewed papers to help you understand. No, 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 no. To help you understand our position better. Now it's our position. No, I'm staying with Kemet. I'm not doing too much in DNA. Our position. You see how he does it? Our position. No, no, no. Your position. Nope, 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 nope. I'm on my side of the street, right? One time I crossed on your side of the street and got me into some issues, right? And my advice for you Pan African James, which you should always do if you present a paper or have a paper, just read the abstract, right? You know, the abstract with sources. If a person can't get past your abstract, then you know where it is. You don't have to explain everything. All you have to do is explain your abstract. If they can't get past your abstract, if you wrote a well-written abstract, or if there's problems in your abstract, then that will come. But you shouldn't say more than your abstract. And that's about it. Instead of trying to explain everything, and not to this audience, just present your abstract, all right? Which you didn't do. Okay, so science does this. They look at the species and stuff that we have, and if there's another species, uh, they will add it to it. But at this point, and this may be dated, and I am not going to say that this is not dated, but it gives you an example of our family tree. Right. And the other thing is, I mean, if you're really, really doing this work, at some point you got to write something. Um, talk is temporary. Writing is permanent. right? What's it say? Oh, let me see if I can read some of this. Sometime around 6 or 7 million years ago, the first members of our human family evolved in Africa. They spent much of their time in trees, as did close primate relatives. The ancestors of today's chimpanzees and gorillas, but unlike other primates, our ancestors walked readily on 2 feet on the ground, a trait scientists often define the human family, the hominids. Between the time of the first hominids and the periods where our species, Homo sapiens, evolved in Africa more than 200,000 years ago, our planet was home to a wide range of early humans. To piece together their story, scientists rely on a wealth of evidence, including fossil artifacts and DNA analysis. This web of clues is difficult to unravel, and experts often disagree which species lived when and where, but it's clear that the human family has a rich evolutionary history, a past that has shaped who we are today. A generous recognition of a generous gift by Catherine P. and Thomas L. Kempner Jr. And support always helps. People do good work, and so bye, brother Reggie. Lunch. There you are. Your be your generous donation. Shazmu Pata, first thing that you've said so far lately, they called the low they low key just called you a monkey. Who? Who called this a monkey? This is not a monkey. No. They didn't call you a monkey. Man, see, we're talking about evolution. We're talking about primates. So you believe in Adam, I guess. You believe that God created Adam and Eve perfect. That they didn't come from. Uh, okay, it's not personal. So, what's going on here? What do you think about my previous statement about this is not personal comment? Nature is not physically seen, heard, smelled, tasted, or felt. Nature is not sensible. No, I disagree with that, right? Nature is physical, right? We have evolutionary organs that allow us to smell and taste and to see, right? And so we're not seeing spirits. So I disagree with that. Uh, so let's see. Okay. Now what's someone saying? Smash Rock Man is 8 p.m. on the West Coast. You wow. So I don't know. Some people go to bed early. Some people go to bed early so they can rise at 6 in the morning. Read what again? About being in the trees. That makes you a monkey because you're in a tree. Yeah, sometime around 6 or 7 million years ago. You know how far that is? The first members of our human family evolved in Africa. You have a problem with that? They spent much of their time in trees, as did their close primate relatives. Being in the tree is problematic. It's dangerous in Africa, right? But also there's food sources, and there's how can I say, when you're outside during the day, your survival on the in the tree is especially when you're moving from place to place, it gives you a certain amount of shelter from the heat, right? It allows you to see your terrain from danger. You better be up in a goddamn tree, right? Because there's wild ass animals the lion family and the large cat family and other dogs, hyenas, and stuff like. You better get your ass up in a tree. But unlike other primates, our ancestors walked rarely on 2 feet when on the ground. A trait scientist often uses to define humans' family, the hominids. So this allowed humans to go from place to place by walking on their feet, and then when they need to, find shelter in the trees from dangerous animals. What's the problem with that? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Right? I don't get it. Okay, so we jump in whips, cars, trains now, right? Okay, because we can, right? But if you down in the southern parts of America, right? Uh, you better be smart. You better be smart trying to find a tree that you might climb up into so you can escape a bear or a cougar. Well, cougar's gonna climb the tree faster than you, but I don't think that you people are out in nature much. I think that you are just city dwellers and stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever been camping or anything like that. Go camping, right? So this is not us per se, but this is getting to us. I know y'all don't like that, right? I know y'all don't like that at all, right? Y'all don't want to have no hair. Y'all want to be how can I say the modern human that we are. The many faces of Homo. This is another chart, and I'm getting to the close of it, but I am going to go into the danger room, and I'm going to get corrected in the danger room, right? I'm going into the danger room. The danger room is because this is such an incredible educational center. Not like the Met is incredible, but the Met doesn't have what you call a way in which you can talk to the experts, PhDs, graduate students, and stuff like that. No, the American Museum of Natural History, they have a room, right? Come on in. So that's my point of this video. My point of this video is that you will never find no black belt in pseudo judo, the arts of pseudo judo, come in and go in and talk to no experts. They want to just tell people on YouTube how smart they are, but they will never take their black belt, red belt, and pseudo judo arts and go and talk to an expert and have it filmed. Okay, so Reg is going to get ready, and Reg is going to go into the lab. And I'm not going to be 100%. And they gave me some things to talk about, right? Actually, and believe it or not, a young man my son's age, right, who's a graduate student. So that means he's most likely uh on it. So one of the things I have a problem with this museum is they pick and choose some of the areas, and so they like to. Well, here's Flores, but before we were looking more like a Neanderthal, in Africa with hyenas, right? As if that type of person lived in Africa. So they do have to, and then they have Asia. So now I'm getting ready to go into the danger room, and I'm gonna get me as smart as I am. I'm gonna get corrected, and that's okay. Okay, so let's just move past all of this. Okay, I can get probably better slides with this if I can. There's Lucy, beautiful Lucy. She's beautiful to me. One of the family. Lucy is one of the family. And these are replicas of the bones that we got. Now, the pseudo judos are on high alert. Well, first of all, you ain't going into no museum, right? You just allergic to it, right? And you can't do a. Uh-oh. All right. So years ago, I took the Amin Ra squad into the danger room, and in that time period, Ankh was talking. We let Ankh talk. Uh, that was his area. So I just thought I would let you know that the danger room is still available, and you can go in there, right? So here we go. So now I'm not going to tell you. You're going to see how I'm going to get corrected, and I know why I got corrected. But I'm gonna be corrected by a young brother who's my son's age, right? And yeah, he's going to clarify some things, so I won't make that mistake again. So here we go. Okay, so people sit around the room, and these PhD students, they give you presentations on the different skulls, the time periods, their thoughts, sometimes their work. And so this sister right here, this woman right here, she's with her dad, and she studies anthropology. And so before then, she was just testing her weight with this brother right here who is presenting, um, right? Who's in a how can I say he's definitely in the graduate
It seems like
center.
they did. So with humans, I forgot what it's called, or something like that. So you have this other thing, you put this here home, and it basically makes you feel really fun. It seems like Neanderthals was just raw dogging it with their hands, and they were.
So James, when you come to New York, right, you can get yourself in this room and test out what you got to say.
Really, yeah, it's an amazing view. So Neanderthals were doing and they themselves. Speciated into Denisovans and Neanderthals, and those that stayed evolved into Homo sapiens. As far as we know, Homo sapiens interbred with 3 species: Denisovans, Neanderthals, and then someone that we call Homo lineage, which basically means that we have the DNA of it, but we have nothing to compare it to. And it's only found in people in Africa. So it seems like those Africans, their ancestors interbred with that species, and some of the DNA happens to survive through the descendants today.
So Homo heidelbergensis is a species that left Africa, right?
That's the current thinking, but
Right.
we also do say this is now a trash basket taxa, meaning that we think it's multiple.
So he put my Homo heidelbergensis in a trash basket, uh, uh, tack, uh, whatever, because he wants to try to clarify it.
Species that's in this, like now in this one thing. Hard to say just because we don't have DNA for most of these things. And you have to go on the anatomy, so the morphology, the shape of this thing. Is it distinct enough to say it's its own thing, or
So what evidence do you have that there was another species out of Africa besides Homo heidelbergensis?
what do you mean? Oh, so basically the. So
this is where he's going to cook me, and he's right. Okay, because there were many species that left Africa. Homo heidelbergensis being one of them most known, and then during isolation, there's a lot of admixture, but there may have been species that left that created the Denisovans or the Flores, the hobbits, and so I was relating Homo heidelbergensis as a parent of the Neanderthal, right? And so that's where I went a little bit array, but there were other species that left Africa. Yeah.
Things that we call Homo heidelbergensis, there's.
Yeah, he does look a lot like my son. So, but anyway, he's gonna cook me.
A lot of studies being done that says, like, for instance, it's so weird. They're saying that the population that we find in Asia is so distinct from the ones that we find from Africa and Europe, while there is some in Europe that are more similar to the ones in Africa than they are to the other ones in Europe. So then it's like, that doesn't make any sense, because this one is in like Greece, for instance, but you're telling me that it, based off of the shape of its skull, it's more similar to the ones in Africa than it is to the ones in the
Because of
country over.
isolated populations and then later admixtures with those populations,
Yeah,
that those
that
things
definitely
can
happens.
actually occur. But I have
We don't know what it is.
Yeah, we
If
just
you
don't know.
don't know what it is, it goes into Homo heidelbergensis until we can actually like compare it to something else.
Well, I agree, but we have evidence of Homo heidelbergensis, and we don't have evidence of the other stuff that you're
So
Say it.
no, not
So,
necessarily, because again, to be a species, you have to have quite a bit shared characteristics with each other. When you look at each of the individuals scattered around, you actually see enough differences to be like, okay, we find more differences than we do similarities.
yes, it's a
So
lot
at
of
that point,
diversity. Yeah, what's behind me is a whole whole show smash on evolution that's on YouTube. And so yeah, it's really in depth. I how can I say it? I don't want to get copyright by playing it by going over and over again, but it's a real good piece.
it can't be considered all the same thing as Homo heidelbergensis. You could technically argue like something is Homo heidelbergensis because it's just a name,
Right.
but you base it off of a jaw that we found in Heidelberg, Germany, and that jaw is apparently so distinct.
It's called the mind blowing story of human evolution, right? And that's this, and it's well graphically made, animated.
From everything else that we call Homo heidelbergensis.
Right.
It doesn't fit into Homo heidelbergensis. So that jaw is uniquely its own thing that you could call Homo heidelbergensis,
Right.
but you can't call this specific skull Homo heidelbergensis then off of that logic. So,
But
Homo
the
heidelbergensis could be a Neanderthal.
oh yeah, hey, I heard
no,
that
but
theory before, yeah.
no, but it's, yeah. So on this table is replicas, but still a replica is expensive. But yeah, the species that was in Africa that left into Europe,
Eurasia, yeah.
Eurasia,
But the
Eurasia.
original one was found in
Well, the
Germany.
one that we have.
Yeah, the one that we have,
The one
and
that
we
we have.
so basically in science, this is one thing about science that's kind of
Sure.
This literally means the man of Heidelberg from Germany.
Right.
If the theory is correct, that means it originates in Africa. But according to this name, it sounds like it originates in Germany. No, it's just that the first fossil that we found of it, that we gave
Right.
the name, was from Germany. So again, and then like, apparently this jaw is just uniquely different from everything else that we call Homo heidelbergensis. So it's like clearly that jaw could be Homo heidelbergensis, but everything else that we're seeing in this zoo, it just doesn't make any sense to. I really wanted to get into that film many years ago. I decided not.
Can I just ask a general question about the importance of Charles Darwin and human evolution?
he's he's a very important person in the field because he was the one who basically gave us an explanation to evolution. There's this idea that he invented it, he did not. He understood, everyone understood this idea of evolution, but no one could explain how it happened. He provided one of the current 5 ones that we have now called mechanisms of evolution, natural selection. And he was one of the first people to be like, hey, I think in Africa. Because when you look at everything that exists, we look most similar as the great apes in Africa.
Sorry.
But he still was also a very religious man, and he somehow did interject religion.
And what did he get wrong?
Huh?
What did he get wrong? So that's an important question. So I asked him have his time. So I talked about the importance of Charles Darwin, and then I get a chance to talk to a graduate student on what he got wrong, and he uses all of this right to get better. He'll go back home, he'll think about it, take some notes, and he'll say, "Wow, there's people in here who are really looking for uh, direct answers," and he may fix some of the things that he's saying, um, uh, and present better because he's doing it on the fly. And a lot of us who present on YouTube, like Smash and stuff, sometimes we, myself and others, we say, "Golly, okay, next time I'm gonna say something a little bit better," right? Um, and so over the years, we've all gotten better. Uh, um, some people were great from the start. I can't say that I was in presenting, but I'm better because I go and I think about how I want to, what I can say to present better. Okay, so I'm getting ready to close because he's going to answer this last question, and that's about it. The granules,
Didn't he think that different races were different species?
I'm not sure that was.
Okay, so she's not right about that. That's not what he really got wrong, because for Charles Darwin, cabbage was a race. Um, so, but she's very very bright. She's in academia, right? But so he's gonna young PhD graduate student. He's gonna
Him.
he got wrong on how genetic material
No, he didn't know
got
about
transferred.
genetic.
Right.
Yeah.
He
So,
got hard. He got wrong. That
so he didn't get it wrong per se.
he got it wrong. Right. Galton proved that he got it wrong. So he's just trying to do some nuance. But let's go.
He just didn't know it existed because
Of course, he didn't know he existed, but he came up with an idea, and that's what Inky is trying to say, that the whole theory of evolution is wrong because he got something wrong. One of the parts of uh, Charles Darwin's evolutionary model.
Mendel existed at that time and did have his work published, but he was a monk, and monks don't really get that much notoriety, from my understanding. So basically, it's like, hey, this is natural selection. This is
Well, the monks got a whole lot because they created this daggone Christianity. It's certainly those ones that was in Hibis in Egypt and Saqqara and Alexandria. Monks is how can I say, throughout the time period, they were very very sophisticated. Whether or not and they had a lot of control. It was people like Charles Darwin that that had ideas that conflicted with the Christians.
what explains evolution. Okay, cool. So what is the process of these things?
Well,
Like, yeah,
it's science. Science help, and getting things wrong in science is part of science.
if you, yeah,
Yeah.
If you got nothing wrong in science, you're doing science wrong.
yes,
That's
exactly. Like,
exactly right.
specifically in physics and a lot of different fields. Like, if you get something so perfectly,
Well, Babylon Don, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So this is Brother Reggie going out in the field and reporting. Um, and let's see what else.
you did something extremely wrong along the lines.
So this was the important part that I should have listened to.
Basically, it's like, hey, this is natural selection. This is what explains evolution. Okay, cool. So what is the process of these things? Like, yeah,
It's science. Science help, and getting things wrong in science is part of science.
if you, yeah,
Yeah.
If you got nothing wrong in science, you're doing science wrong.
yes,
That's
exactly. Like,
exactly right.
specifically
So here's Brother Reggie taking what we talk about in our channels, and I'm taking it to them, and I'm hitting it head on, right? That's the most important part of any debate. Uh, Getting things wrong helps science, right? But some people want to say that when you got it wrong, it destroys the whole concept, which is wrong because they don't understand how science works. So Brother Reggie goes and goes out and talks to graduate students, and there's another woman over there, and then there's a woman to my side. I'm outranked, but I can hold my own. And there's a lot of great people on our show, Smash and stuff. They can hold their own, right? Um, and then and so we and Unc has been in his room and he can hold his own. The only person who hasn't been in a room like this is Dr. Inky. And I want Dr. Inky. He's got to show and prove, right? That's what we do. We go out and we show and prove. He's got to show and prove besides his blackboard.
physics and a lot of different fields. Like, if you get something so perfectly, you did something extremely wrong along the lines. Because at the end of the day, science is not meant to be the end of be all. It's what the current evidence tells us
Yes.
today that can give us the best explanation. Because, like I told them, like 50 years, another student will be saying something maybe completely different.
AI will.
Well,
They will have your face, but they don't need us anymore. They really don't need us anymore.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, maybe who knows? Maybe then it's gonna be a robot. Explain life. You know, so you got those 50
Now
years.
we'll actually know what
Huh?
Heidelbergensis is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so she's excited that I know exactly about what Homo heidelbergensis is. I walked in with my urban gear and stuff like that, and I'm just somebody from somebody, and I can have a conversation with them. And I'm laughing because the young man, the young man looks like he looks similar to my son. Uh, and my son is in a PhD program, and my son has been named one of the emerging black scientists of the United States. So this is really interesting talking to someone like him. Where do you go to school? You're pretty bright. CUNY, which part of CUNY? I'm a graduate student. Huh? CUNY Grad Center? And what's your area of study? What's your area of study?
Oh, human evolution.
Human evolution. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So I am went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they have this new exhibition called Divine Egypt. And what they are looking at, they have maybe about 150, 200 artifacts on Egyptian netters, uh, different looks at them. And I went there, taped something. Now I have to go back and I have to kind of like retape. Going to have to retape. Babylon, thank you. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. If y'all can like and subscribe, join the channel, I appreciate that, and show me some love. I appreciate that, Babylon Don. So the next show I'm going to do is going to be on Divine. It's called Divine Egypt, and they do. What's popular. They're going to look at men. But the beautiful thing is they have uh, a pre-dynastic piece of men that's there. They don't have too many pre-dynastic pieces, but they do have at least men there. So we're going to get a chance to see men. Um, Men is, when Smash says black like Osiris, well, Osiris was black like men, right? And so he's a southerner. So they bring in, this kingdom brings in Netches from the south, from the, if you don't got Smash's book, Black Like Osiris, get it. Um, get it. Um, get it. And he has another important work. I forgot the name of the title, but I have it. Get it? Uh, yeah. Thanks. Having children. Anybody that has children know that most important thing is to help them survive. That's the thing that keeps you wake up all night, especially when they travel. And my son, he travels a lot. He goes to Europe a lot for his work, and that just keeps you awake at night because nothing is promised. Today, D'Angelo, if y'all don't know D'Angelo, the singer, he passed away this morning, 51 years old from cancer, right? Gone. Somebody who was a real great singer, gone from cancer. So with that said, I think I'm going to end. Except for I will, if you want to put in some words, some last words. Um, but I wanted to parlay into this debate that they're having, and I want to show. I just want to show people, you know, you while you're waiting for a debate, the best thing that you can do is go out there and learn yourself, right? Take the time out on a Saturday and Sunday. Uh, oh, of course, men came before uh, Usir. Um, uh, men is pre-dynastic nature. Uh, Usir is what you call just Egyptian, an Egyptian concept, right? And then they created They added, because if you read the pyramid text, um, the whole the whole concept of Osir hadn't been, the myth, the story hadn't been completely reworked. Um, he wasn't as important as he would become important in other periods, because Ray was ultimately more important, and then he becomes, Seer becomes really more important in the Middle Kingdom, right? Certainly when the populace could be have funerals like a king, and so Seer, and so then there's this whole uh, concept of the Puat Necher, or the Eniad, right, where you have the family of Atum, right? Um, but in the beginning, Usir's a lesser Necher. He's you know he has his brother, um, uh, he has a sister, Set, but then you have Gabin Nut and you have Tefnut, right? You have people that's way more issue. You have people way sorry, concepts more important than a seer, because it deals with the universe in the sky. Um, yeah, but men seems to be men seems to be a more ancient concept, like a Kanun, like Neat, like Bot, right? And these are repackaged in the Egyptian civilization, and their qualities um, are given to other netures, right? So this whole thing that we just witnessed about El and Yahweh, well, there's also Baal, and there's other uh, 70 other sons uh, of uh, of El, right? Where these when the people win, your God wins. So the people with Yahweh, when they started winning, right, their God was winning, right? The other ones, when their people lost, their God dies. That's the story of those type of faves, right? You're with your God, but as your followers dwindle or something like that, then your God dies or goes into a lesser um, importance, right? Or it's morphed, right? So that's human imagination, that's syncretism, that's all that other stuff that we study on our channels. But the believers, they actually believe in a Yahweh and an El, and unfortunately, they don't go to the museums, they don't go to the libraries. Uh, they eat a lot of lamb, and they get big, and they think that, and they get boisterous, but they're unfortunately, I have to say, intellectual midgets. They are. Because, first of all, to validate anything that they say, they have to go to the person, they have to go to the literature of the people that they call the devil, right? The European. Well, our scholars, we recognize scholars, so we go and we get information. It's not about some religious BS, right? It's about that they were able to have the money to make the studies, and collect the information, and uh, the support to have students uh, work with them on deciphering or translating text and stuff like that, and they can make a living out of it. We don't have that. Um, we don't have that. We have to do this on a side like a hobby. Shesmu, you did not create yourself from yourself. You was born from your parents. Don't, please honor your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, your great grandparents. Honor your ancestors, right? Or I think we get too far with this kepara, and the museum has this kepara that's like maybe about 5 feet in diameter. He got a big ass kepara. He's scary to me, right? Uh, Eman Eman came later. He was not important as Ra. he became more important. But in the beginning, uh, Ra, you have, the pyramid builders, Seneferu, right? Right? You have Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaura. These are Ra's, right? These are believers in Ra's. They're the great people that begin the pyramid age. Um, so so Eman comes when it's a cult thing, when they start moving from cows to rams, and these are token groups, right? And so Eman begins, but he's not that powerful. He becomes more powerful when he fuses with Ra. He becomes Amun Ra, right? But in the early days, he wasn't that powerful. Uh, Mentuhotep, I think he brings in, he makes Amun as one of his patron gods, right? So, but anyway, I don't really do the God thing. I do generally look at a slice of history and what they're building and what they're doing and what they're writing. I don't really get into this spiritual stuff. I don't. So there you go. Um, so so I think I want to close the show, but I'm looking for any particular questions. So I will do a show on Divine Egypt. What else do I have on it? I can do another walkthrough at the Met on the general Egyptian, so-called ancient Egyptian exhibition. I can do other places. I can do South Asia. Uh, I don't think there's an audience for that. Oh, and of course, I can do a walkthrough on uh, the Arts of Africa, which is dealing with West Africa. So I think I have that coming up. But it just depends on your patronage and stuff like that and my time. And then sometimes I don't want to do a show. I don't want to do a show. I'll go on somebody else's show, right? And add, because doing a show, you how can I say, you have to spend some time putting it together. It's easier for me to go on another show, but it helps populate my channel. So if there's anything from anybody else, oh, and I could go back to the American Museum of Natural History. I can do this. I can do space. What else can I do? Um, um, oh, I can do evolution with horses, evolution with other species. I could do dinosaurs. I could go back and do plants. I think plants and stuff like that are not so exciting, but I can do that. But I can definitely. I mean, I could do things like butterflies and things like that. I could do minerals, right? I could do minerals. Um, I can do that. So I can spend a lot of time in the American Museum of Natural History. Is just exhausting. It's just exhausting. It's just so much to do. When I was a kid, I used to always get a headache. Just too much information. But so yeah, I do museum studies, and I think that that's something I can do different than a lot of the other content that's on the channel. So I want to thank everybody for coming in, and let's see if anybody gave me a cash app so I can thank them publicly. So it's my cash app, and so let's see anything. Gmail, Gmail. Hmm. Well, here I don't see anything. Social. No. So I didn't get any cash apps. So here's my cash app, and I would appreciate if somebody buys me stands out. Be the one. Buy me breakfast tomorrow. I'm almost monetized, but monetization, please. That that doesn't pay. So I mean, it's just one of those things. Those people who are content creators, why do we do the work? I think I put on some of the best individual content on the in this space. Not the only one, but I think I do. Uh, I think I do. Um, I'm not trying to fool you. I'm not trying to lead you. I'm not trying to get you into some cult. I'm not. I'm just. My information is there to be examined, expanded on, or in some cases fixed. Uh, yeah. So there you go. So thanks for watching. I'll say good night, and I appreciate you at least stopping by. Please, if anything, just like the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I want to thank you to the next show. Peace. What we got cooking here?